I honestly don't even know how to start this because my life feels like a bad reality show right now. I, 28M, have been dating my fiancée, Claire, 27F, for almost 4 years. She's the kindest, most grounded person I've ever met. She came from a modest background. Her parents are hardworking, middle-class people, nothing fancy. Meanwhile, my family, let's just say old money. My dad runs a company he inherited, my mom hosts charity galas like it's her full-time job, and my siblings grew up thinking we were some kind of American royalty. When I met Claire, I knew my family would be polite, but secretly condescending. What I didn't expect was how far they would go. At first it was small things. My mom making little digs about Claire's clothes. My sister asking if she'd ever eaten at a Michelin star restaurant. Stuff like that. Claire brushed it off with grace, but I saw how uncomfortable it made her. Fast forward, last month I proposed. Claire said yes and I was on cloud 9. But the second I told my parents, the mood shifted. They congratulated me, sure, but there was this undertone, like they were already planning something. My brother even joked, "Guess we'll see if she's marrying you or the family money." I laughed it off, but Claire squeezed my hand under the table, and I knew it stung. Then came the dinner. My mom called me and said she wanted to celebrate properly with an intimate family dinner. Just us, no friends. Claire was nervous but agreed. We walked into their house and immediately something felt off. My sister greeted Claire with this fake smile. My brother poured her a drink before she even sat down. And my mom had this look on her face like she was about to audition for Mean Girls 4. Halfway through the meal, my dad dropped the bomb. He said, "Claire, you seem like a lovely young woman, but marriage is a serious commitment, so we thought it would be wise to give you a little test." Claire froze. I was confused as hell. A test? What the hell does that even mean? My sister chimed in with a grin. "Yeah, just a few scenarios, nothing big. We just want to see how you'd fit into the family." They literally started quizzing her, asking her what she would do if I lost my job, how she'd manage if I cut her off financially, if she would sign a prenup right there on the spot. They even pulled out papers my dad had drafted with his lawyer friend. It was humiliating. I could see Claire's face turning red, her hands shaking as she tried to answer politely. But when my mom smirked and asked if Claire would still marry me if my trust fund magically disappeared tomorrow, Claire stood up and said, "I'm sorry, but this is insulting. I love your son, not your money. If you can't see that, I don't know what else to say." She grabbed her coat and left. I was stunned. My family sat there acting like she was the problem, like they just done me some huge favor by exposing her. My dad even said, "Better now than after the wedding." Here's the thing. I left with Claire that night. I told my family they were out of line. Now they're blowing up my phone, calling me ungrateful, saying Claire failed their test, and that if I marry her, I'll be making the biggest mistake of my life. So, AITA for walking out with Claire instead of siding with my family? After that disastrous dinner, Claire and I drove back to her apartment in total silence. I kept glancing over at her, wanting to say something, but the words just wouldn't come. She finally broke the silence. "Was that normal? Is this how your family usually treats people?" Her voice cracked a little, and it hit me like a punch. I'd been around my family my whole life. I knew they could be judgmental, entitled, even cruel, but I guess I'd normalized it. Seeing Claire, the woman I want to marry, practically humiliated at a dinner table by the people who are supposed to be my support system made me feel ashamed. I apologized over and over, but Claire just shook her head. "It's not you," she said. "But I can't pretend like that didn't happen. They don't see me as a person. They see me as some intruder." The next morning, my phone was exploding. Missed calls, voicemails, texts from my mom, dad, sister, even my aunt who wasn't even at dinner. Word had already spread. My mom's text read, "You embarrassed us. Claire should have stayed and had a respectful conversation. Marriage is about compromise, and if she can't handle questions, how will she handle the real challenges?" My dad left me a voicemail saying, "Son, you need to wake up. You're blinded by infatuation. She's not strong enough for this family." My sister texted something that made my blood boil. Honestly, She failed the easiest test ever. If she can't deal with a few hypotheticals, imagine her dealing with dad's board dinners or mom's social circles. She's just not cut out for it. I didn't reply. Instead, I sat with Claire on her couch, trying to reassure her. She kept asking, "Are they always going to hate me? Am I setting myself up for a lifetime of being looked down on?" I didn't know what to say because deep down I feared the answer was yes. That night, I decided to call my brother, thinking maybe he'd be more reasonable. He wasn't. He doubled down, saying the test was the best idea our parents ever had. "If she really loves you," he said, "she'd have laughed it off and signed the prenup to prove her intentions." I snapped. I told him they humiliated her, and that I felt humiliated just sitting there while my fiancée was interrogated like a criminal. He said I was being dramatic and that I'd regret letting some girl drive a wedge between me and my family. The worst part? Claire overheard some of it. When I hung up, she said softly, "I don't want to be the reason you lose your family." That gutted me, because here's the truth. My family has money, power, connections. They've always been a huge part of my life. But Claire, she's my future. I want a life with her, and now it feels like I can't have both. The wedding is supposed to be next year, but my family's already saying they won't support it financially, won't attend, and will basically cut me off if I go through with it. Claire told me she doesn't need their money or approval, but I can see the weight it's putting on her. And here's the kicker. Last night, my mom called me again and said, "It's not too late to rethink this. You can still do better." Better. As if Claire is some subpar product they picked off a shelf. Now I'm stuck. Do I go full no contact and risk losing my family forever? Or do I keep trying to mediate between people who clearly don't respect the woman I love? I honestly thought the worst of it was over after the dinner, but I underestimated just how far my family would go. If humiliating Claire at the table wasn't enough, they decided to pull her parents into the mess. Claire's parents are simple, hardworking people. Her mom is a nurse, her dad's a retired mechanic. They don't care about high society dinners or old money etiquette. They care about family, loyalty, and honesty. When they heard about what happened, they were furious on Claire's behalf. Her mom called me personally to say, "Honey, I don't know what kind of game your folks are playing, but no woman should be treated like that. You did the right thing walking out." For a moment I felt relief. At least someone's family had our backs. But that lasted about 48 hours. Because my mother decided to invite Claire's parents over for coffee. She framed it like an olive branch, but really it was an ambush. Claire didn't want them to go. She begged them not to. But her parents said, "Maybe if we talk face to face, we can smooth things over." Big mistake. I wasn't there. I found out after. But here's what happened according to Claire's mom. The moment they walked in, my mother and sister put on their best fake smiles and acted like they were doing Claire's parents a favor by even letting them in the house. Then they launched into their speech. It went something like this. "Don't you think Claire is rushing into this? She doesn't know what she's getting into. Marrying into our family is different. There are responsibilities, appearances, expectations. We're worried she won't be able to handle it." Claire's dad apparently lost his patience right there. He told them that Claire was more than capable of being a wife, that she didn't need to prove anything to anyone, and that if they couldn't respect her, they didn't deserve her. My mom didn't take that well. She smirked and said, "With all due respect, you don't understand what kind of circles we operate in. We're trying to protect our son from a mismatch. It's not about love, it's about compatibility. And we think Claire might be out of her depth." Claire's mom called me right after they left, her voice trembling with rage. She said, "I don't know how you grew up in that house without turning into them, but they are insufferable. I don't want to see them near Claire again." When Claire found out, she broke down crying. Not because she was embarrassed for herself, but because her parents were dragged into a war they never asked for. She kept saying, "They didn't deserve that. They're good people. They raised me better than this." I was livid. I drove to my parents' house that night and confronted them. My dad sat there like a stone statue, saying nothing, while my mom and sister acted like they'd just done some kind of heroic intervention. My mom even said, We were giving her parents a reality check. They should thank us. That was the moment something in me shifted. Up until then, I'd been torn, thinking maybe there was still a chance to bridge the gap. But seeing how smug they were after deliberately disrespecting Claire and her family, I realized this wasn't just about class differences or a prenup. This was about control. My family doesn't see Claire as a person. They see her as an outsider trying to take me away. And now, instead of questioning if Claire fits into their world, I'm starting to wonder if I even want to be part of their world anymore. The problem? Claire doesn't want me to go nuclear. She keeps saying, "Don't cut them off for me. You'll regret it." She's so selfless it kills me, but I can feel the tension eating away at us. Every day, another call, another text from my family, pushing, pressuring, manipulating. And last night, my dad finally spoke up. He called me directly and said, in the calmest voice possible, "If you marry her, you're out. No inheritance. No stake in the company. No financial support. Nothing. You'll be on your own." I hung up without answering. But now I'm sitting here wondering, would I really walk away from everything for love? After my dad's phone call, I didn't sleep. I just lay there staring at the ceiling, playing his words over and over in my head. If you marry her, you're out. No inheritance. No company. Nothing. I never cared about the money the way my siblings do. But the reality of it hit me hard. It's not just a trust fund. It's my entire future tied up in the family business. The safety net I always assumed would be there. My parents paid for my college, they helped me with my first car, they covered my rent when I was starting out. I've never been without. So hearing that I'd be cut off completely, it terrified me in a way I wasn't ready to admit. Claire noticed right away. The next morning, she made me coffee and just looked at me for a long time before asking, "What did your dad say?" I didn't want to tell her, but lying isn't our thing. So I told her everything, the inheritance, the company, the financial cutoff. She went pale. Her first words were, "Then maybe we should take a step back." That broke me. I asked what she meant, and she said, "I don't want you to throw away your whole future because of me. I can't be the reason you lose your family and your security. That's not fair to you." I grabbed her hands and told her she is my future. But I could see the guilt in her eyes. And that's when the manipulation from my family started working. Not on me directly, but on her. Because later that day, my sister showed up at my apartment unannounced. She acted all sweet at first, saying she just wanted to talk privately. But then she turned to Claire and said, "Look, I know you love him. I can see that. But do you really want to be the reason he loses everything? The company, the inheritance, the respect of our parents? That's a huge burden for anyone to carry." Claire was speechless. I told my sister to leave, but she smirked and whispered to Claire, "Real love means sacrifice. Sometimes that means walking away." Claire hasn't been the same since. She's quieter, more withdrawn. She still says she wants to marry me, but I can feel her pulling back, like she's trying to prepare herself for the possibility of letting me go. Meanwhile, my mom keeps sending me articles about divorce rates, about how men who marry below their class are statistically more likely to regret it. My brother invited me to lunch just to casually mention how expensive weddings are without parental help. Every single interaction with my family is another jab, another reminder of what I'll lose if I don't fall in line. But here's the thing that's making me snap. When I told Claire I'd marry her, even if we had to do it in a courthouse with thrift store rings, she cried. Not out of joy, out of guilt. She said, "You deserve better than that. Your parents are right. You grew up with certain opportunities, certain expectations. I don't want to drag you down." That crushed me more than anything my family could say. Because now it feels like I'm not just fighting them. I'm fighting Claire's own self-doubt, which they planted in her head like a poison. And then, my dad sent me an email. Not a call. Not a text. An email with a PDF attachment. It was a contract, an official prenup drafted by his lawyer. The message was simple. If she signs this, we'll reconsider. I don't know if they're bluffing or serious, but the fact that they keep trying to turn this relationship into a negotiation makes me sick. I love Claire, but right now, I can feel her slipping through my fingers. Not because she doesn't love me back, but because my family is making her believe that letting me go is the kindest thing she can do. And honestly, I don't know how much longer I can watch her suffer like this. It happened on a Sunday morning, quiet and almost too normal. Claire and I had just finished breakfast. She was sitting on the couch, holding her coffee mug in both hands like it was a shield. I noticed she wasn't looking at me. Her eyes were fixed on some spot on the carpet. Finally, she said, "We need to talk." I swear my stomach dropped. Everyone knows nothing good ever starts with those 4 words. She set the mug down and took a deep breath. "I think we should call off the engagement." For a second, I honestly thought I misheard her. My brain couldn't process the words. I laughed. Actually laughed because it felt so absurd. But when I saw her face, pale and serious, the laughter died in my throat. She explained in the calmest voice she could manage, but I could hear the tremor underneath. "I love you. I want to marry you. But I can't watch your family destroy you because of me. They're already threatening to cut you off, and I can't be the reason you lose everything you've worked for." I tried to interrupt, but she held up her hand. "Please, just listen." She went on, "You deserve peace, stability, a future where you don't have to constantly choose between me and them. And right now, I feel like no matter how much we love each other, I'm tearing you away from your family. I don't want to be the wedge that ruins your life." That broke me, because I could see she wasn't saying this because she wanted out. She was saying it because she thought it was the right thing to do. I sat down next to her and said, "Claire, I'd rather live in a 1-bedroom apartment eating ramen noodles with you than sit in a mansion surrounded by people who think love is a contract. You're not ruining my life. You're the only part of it that makes sense." She cried. I cried. But even then, I could tell she wasn't fully convinced. My family had gotten in her head too deep. The next day, my mom coincidentally called me and asked how Claire was doing. I told her to cut the act, and she sighed and said, "Son, you'll thank us one day. She'll either walk away now or she'll trap you later. We're trying to protect you from yourself." I hung up before I said something I'd regret. But the damage was already there. Claire started avoiding wedding planning conversations. She stopped talking about venues, dresses, even dates. It felt like she was waiting for the right moment to officially pull the plug. Then came the worst blow. My sister sent Claire a message directly, bypassing me completely. It said, "If you really love him, set him free. You'll never win this battle. Be selfless, walk away." I saw the message on Claire's phone when she showed me, tears streaming down her face. And I realized in that moment that my family wasn't just manipulating me anymore. They were actively recruiting her to sabotage our relationship. That night, I made a decision. I told Claire, "I can't keep living like this. We either draw the line with them now, or we're going to drown in their poison forever." She whispered, "What does that mean?" And I said, "It means I'm cutting them off. For good. But here's the thing, I don't know if I actually can. I've been tangled in their world my entire life. Walking away feels like stepping off a cliff with no parachute. And now I'm stuck asking myself, am I really strong enough to choose Claire over everything I've ever known? The night I told Claire I was cutting them off, I felt strangely calm, like I'd finally made a decision instead of constantly spinning in circles. She didn't believe me at first. "You've said that before," she whispered. And she was right. I'd threatened it in fights with my parents but always caved when they pulled me back in. But this time felt different. This time, it wasn't about me trying to win an argument. It was about survival, about protecting Claire, our relationship, and honestly, my own sanity. So the next morning, I sent a group message to my parents and siblings. "Until you can respect Claire as my partner, I'm stepping back. Do not contact me or her again. If and when you can treat her with basic decency, we can talk. Until then, I'm done." I hit send. My hands were shaking, but I meant it. Claire read it over my shoulder and hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. For a few days, it was blissful silence. No calls, no texts, no manipulative emails. Just me and Claire breathing again. We actually started talking about wedding plans again, small, simple, maybe even just the courthouse like we joked about. For the first time in months, I felt like we were moving forward. But of course, my family couldn't let that stand. On day 5 of no contact, I got a call from my boss. I work in a mid-sized firm, nothing directly tied to the family business. But my boss said, "Your father reached out to me. He implied that if I want to keep good relations with his company, I should reconsider employing you." I almost dropped the phone. My dad was trying to sabotage my job. My job that I earned on my own, separate from him. Then my aunt, who lives across the country, called to check in. Except she immediately launched into, "I don't know what Claire has against your parents, but you're making everyone miserable. Do you really want to alienate your whole family over one woman?" Clearly, she'd been fed the family version of events. It didn't stop there. My sister posted this long, passive-aggressive rant on Facebook about gold diggers and weak men who abandon their blood for outsiders. No names, but everyone knew who it was about. Old family friends started calling me, asking what was going on. Claire was mortified. She told me, "This isn't just hurting you anymore. It's hurting both of us. They're trying to ruin your reputation, and I don't want to be the reason your career collapses." That night, she cried herself to sleep, and I lay awake thinking, maybe cutting them off isn't enough. Maybe I need to expose them, because if my family is willing to go this far, to threaten my job, slander Claire, turn relatives against me, what's next? Showing up at our wedding? Sabotaging our marriage before it even starts? The scariest part? A tiny, ugly voice in the back of my head whispered, "What if they succeed? What if they break her? What if she decides the pressure is too much and walks away for good?" I don't want to believe that could happen, but I've already watched them twist her confidence, turn her love into guilt, and push her to the brink of ending things. And the truth is, if they don't stop, I don't know if love alone will be enough. After my dad tried to meddle with my job, I thought I'd seen the worst of it. Claire and I decided to go low-key for a while. No social media posts, no big announcements, nothing they could twist into gossip fuel. We figured if we stayed quiet, maybe they'd run out of steam. For a couple of weeks, it almost worked. We got back into a rhythm. Cooking dinner together, binging Netflix, talking about the future. We even dared to start looking at small wedding venues again. Claire's parents offered to host something simple in their backyard. They just wanted to see us happy. But of course, peace never lasts with my family. The breaking point came when Claire's parents invited us and a few close friends over for a little engagement barbecue. It wasn't fancy, just burgers, beers, and laughter in their backyard. For the first time since the nightmare began, I felt normal. I looked over at Claire, laughing with her mom, and thought, this is what I want. This is home. Then they showed up. First my sister, then my mom, then my dad. They just walked in like they owned the place. No invitation, no warning. Claire's mom froze mid-sentence, spatula still in hand. Claire's dad muttered, "What the hell are they doing here?" My mom strolled up with that tight smile she uses at charity galas and said, "We thought we'd stop by to congratulate you properly." I saw Claire's face drain of color. She grabbed my arm, whispering, "Why are they here? Did you tell them?" I hadn't. I had no idea how they even found out. And then it hit me. They'd been watching, monitoring, probably through my sister's social media connections. The atmosphere went from warm and cozy to ice-cold in seconds. My dad immediately cornered Claire's father, lecturing him about what kind of family responsibilities come with marrying into ours. My sister made snide comments about the cute little barbecue. My mom pulled Claire aside and said, loud enough for half the guests to hear, "Sweetheart, this is all very charming, but do you really think you're ready for the real thing? Our world is bigger than this." Claire's mom stepped in, furious. She told my mom, "This is the real thing. Family isn't about galas and companies. It's about love and loyalty. And frankly, you're failing both." I was ready to drag them all out by force, but before I could, my dad made his move. He pulled out an envelope and slapped it on the picnic table in front of everyone. "A wedding gift," he said. Inside, a check, a massive check, with a note attached. "Consider this a buyout. Walk away now and this is yours." Claire's hand flew to her mouth. Her dad stood up so fast his chair toppled. He shouted, "How dare you put a price tag on my daughter?" Guests were staring, whispering, some pulling out their phones. My mom tried to hush him, saying, "We're only trying to be practical. She'll never fit in with us, and deep down you all know it." That was it. Claire burst into tears. Her parents told everyone the party was over. My family left like they just attended a business meeting, smug and satisfied, leaving devastation in their wake. That night, Claire said something that chilled me. "They're never going to stop, are they?" And I couldn't answer, because in my heart, I knew the truth. My family wasn't just against this marriage. They were at war with it. And the worst part? I was starting to wonder if love was enough to win. After the barbecue disaster, everything changed. Claire stopped smiling the same way. She went through the motions at work and at home, but I could see the spark fading. She kept saying she was fine, but at night I'd catch her staring at the ceiling, eyes wide open, like she was bracing herself for the next attack. One night, she whispered, "I feel like I'm drowning." I pulled her close and told her I'd protect her, that we were in this together. But the truth is, I could feel it too. My family's poison was seeping into every part of our lives. And then came the betrayal. Remember my best friend, Jason? He was the first person I told about Claire. He'd always been supportive, came to our engagement dinner, the real one, before my family ruined it, and told me she was the best thing that ever happened to me. I thought he was solid. Until Claire came home one day, pale and shaking, holding her phone. "You won't believe this," she said, handing it to me. It was a string of messages from Jason, my best friend, telling her maybe she should think twice before marrying me, saying my family would never accept her, and that she should save herself the pain. But the worst part? He admitted my sister had reached out to him. She told him Claire was manipulating me, using me for money, and that a true friend would try to open my eyes. Jason thought he was helping. I saw red. I called him immediately, demanded an explanation. He swore he didn't mean harm, that he just didn't want to see me ruin my life. I told him we were done. Friendship over. But Claire took it differently. She said, "If even your best friend thinks this, maybe your family's right. Maybe I don't belong." That broke me. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, my mom pulled her nastiest move yet. She called Claire directly. No pretense, no fake sweetness. Just venom. "You're destroying him. He's throwing away his inheritance, his career, his future, all for you. Do you really want that guilt on your conscience for the rest of your life? If you had an ounce of decency, you'd walk away." Claire hung up and locked herself in the bathroom for an hour. When she finally came out, her face was blotchy, her hands trembling. She said, "Maybe she's right. Maybe the only way to end this nightmare is if I leave." I begged her not to say that. I told her I didn't care about the inheritance, the company, the money. None of it mattered if I didn't have her. But I could see the war inside her, between her love for me and the crushing weight of what my family was doing. That night, I realized something terrifying. My family wasn't just trying to drive a wedge between us. They were trying to break Claire completely. And if I didn't find a way to stop them soon, I was going to lose the love of my life. Not because she wanted to leave, but because they'd convinced her she had to. Claire broke on a Wednesday. It wasn't dramatic, not the kind of scene you see in movies. It was quiet, almost too quiet. We were supposed to tour a small wedding venue her parents found. A charming old library turned event space. She was excited about it for days. But that morning she sat on the edge of the bed, staring at her shoes and said, "I can't do this anymore." I froze. "What do you mean? The tour? We can reschedule." She shook her head. "No, I mean this. I can't keep fighting a war I'm not strong enough to win. Your family will never accept me. Your friends are turning. Even strangers online know about your sister's post. Everywhere I go, I feel like I'm carrying a sign that says unworthy." I begged her. I told her we could move, cut them off, start fresh somewhere new. But she just whispered, "What if I'm ruining your life?" Hearing that broke something in me. I realized this wasn't just about choosing between Claire and my family anymore. It was about showing Claire, proving to her, that she was worth every battle. That I wasn't just willing to sacrifice for her, I was choosing to. So I made a decision. That night I called a family meeting. My parents, my siblings, all of them. I told Claire not to come. I didn't want her anywhere near the storm. We met at my parents' house. They sat there, smug as ever, like they'd already won. My dad with his arms crossed, my mom sipping wine, my sister pretending to scroll through her phone. I didn't waste time. This ends now. You've humiliated Claire, disrespected her parents, sabotaged my friendships, and tried to ruin my job. For what? Because she doesn't come from money? Because she won't play your twisted games? My dad stood up. She's not one of us. She never will be. And that's when I snapped. Then maybe I don't want to be one of you either. The room went silent. My mom's glass clinked against the table. My sister actually stopped pretending to text. I told them I was done with the company, with the inheritance, with all of it. I'd rather build my own life with Claire than rot in yours. And then my dad laughed. Cold, bitter laugh. You think you're making a noble choice? Fine. But before you walk out, you should know something. That's when the bomb dropped. He admitted, flat out, that the test at dinner, the ambush of Claire's parents, the check at the barbecue, it wasn't just about her. It was about me. He said, I needed to know if you had the backbone to stand up for yourself. You've coasted on this family your whole life. If marrying her is really what you want, then prove it. Prove you can live without us. Otherwise, you'll always be a child who can't cut the cord. I stood there, stunned. My entire world flipped upside down. Was this some kind of twisted experiment? Did he orchestrate all of this just to test me? My mom chimed in. We didn't expect you to last this long, honestly. We thought she'd crack weeks ago. My blood ran cold. They'd admitted it, they'd been trying to break her on purpose. I left shaking with rage. When I got back to Claire, she looked at me like I was already gone. But I told her everything, word for word. And for the first time in weeks, I saw fire in her eyes instead of fear. She said, then let's prove them wrong. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't running from my family. I was finally choosing my own. After the confrontation, Claire and I spent the next few days planning quietly. No announcements, no posts, no outside interference. Just us, our families who truly mattered, and a few close friends who had stayed loyal. Claire was still cautious. I don't want to get hurt again, she said. But I held her hands and promised, no more tests, no more games. We decide what's right for us. We ended up booking a small ceremony at a local vineyard. Nothing flashy, nothing tied to my family, just a place where we could breathe, laugh, and celebrate without fear of sabotage. Claire's parents helped organize everything, bringing warmth and calm into a life that had been chaos for months. The day of the wedding, I didn't invite my family. I considered it, honestly, because part of me hoped they'd show up and apologize. But I realized that wasn't the point. This day wasn't for them. It was for us. Claire looked radiant. Her mom cried. Her dad tried to hide it behind a proud smile. I felt like I was finally home. The ceremony was simple, heartfelt, and perfect. Our vows didn't mention money, status, or family approval. They were about love, trust, and choosing each other no matter what. The fallout came quickly. When my parents found out I'd gone through with it, they unleashed a storm. My dad sent an email saying I was officially cut off from the family business and any inheritance. My mom posted a passive-aggressive congratulations on Facebook, and my sister called multiple times, trying to guilt me into reconsidering. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Claire and I had already built our life in that vineyard, surrounded by people who actually cared about us, not money or status. Months later, the dust settled. My family stopped calling regularly, stopped trying to interfere. They were still bitter, but they'd realized they couldn't control us anymore. And surprisingly, a few extended relatives reached out to quietly apologize for the cruelty. But my parents? Still silent, still smug, still holding their grudges. Claire and I? We moved into a small house, started saving for the future, and focused on each other. The challenges from my family didn't disappear, but we were stronger together, and the tests, manipulations, and betrayals had only made us more resilient. Looking back, I can say with certainty, walking away from my family's approval was the hardest thing I've ever done. But marrying Claire was the best choice I've ever made. And if anyone asks, I won't apologize, because love, loyalty, and respect are worth far more than money, status, or control. So, Reddit AITA for choosing my fiancé over my family?